Jeff Bird, and you're listening to Radio Mysterium. I admit I was skeptical of what they call orgonite, or Orgon energy. I had no idea it would be so effective until I spent weeks researching Wilhelm Reich, Nikola Tesla, and most importantly, constructing my own orgonite. After testing it several times, I now believe it is one of the most important and simple technologies that we can use to protect ourselves in this radiated and increasingly poisonous world. Honestly, I thought orgonite would create a comforting placebo effect, along with some measure of electromagnetic protection firmly grounded in science, but I had no idea how well it would work. Every day, I sit and watch this amazing Orgon energy create a scalar wave vortex, an electromagnetic shield, a perceptible dome of protection above my house on a grander scale than I ever thought possible. I watch as it literally knocks out chemtrails from the sky for over a mile in every direction, essentially protecting my whole neighborhood. Granted, I built several pieces of all sizes, so I assume that this has added to the strength and proximity of the shield, but either way, I'm truly amazed and excited about the results. Orgonite does two things very well. One, it creates a scalar wave vortex that pushes harmful chemtrails away from your home, essentially knocking it out of the sky and clearing your air. And two, it will protect you from harmful cancer-causing EMF, which is electromagnetic frequencies created from wireless technology, HDTVs, computers, EMF pollution caused by cell towers, ELF towers, and harmful distortion of all kinds. Not only does it shield you from this radiation, it actually converts the negative and distorted electromagnetic energy into healing, organic energy. I believe it is crucial for every home in the world to have at least one of these inventions. That would counteract the billions being spent on chemtrails and render it essentially useless. And by the way, let's call chemtrails what they really are, chemical and biological weapons. This is, of course, immoral, illegal, unconstitutional, and it's not science fiction, it's science fact. But like the very perceptive David Icke always says, we are easily controlled because of our narrow sense of the possible. He is so right. These soulless creatures use our own morality against us. Because we would never do such a thing as poison our own people, we believe that others automatically feel the same way. It is our projection, psychologically speaking, of common decency that narrows our scope of what other people are actually capable of. They see us as a virus to be wiped off the face of the planet. These are black magicians building up the tension for their grand reveal. What is this great deceptive magic trick? What is this illusion? Make the whole audience disappear. That's us. They admittedly understand psychology and human behavior better than we do, and they use it against us as a form of mind control. It is frankly ironic that our emotions, our creativity, our empathy, which are our greatest strengths, the very components of our humanity, are used against us. Our greatest defense is an open mind, an understanding of ourselves, and a clear, bright consciousness that cannot be extinguished. Once that spell is broken, it will always be broken. They will never be able to get that genie back in the bottle. These people, if you can call them that, are waging a war on consciousness, as the brilliant Michael Tessarian regularly points out. Chemtrails are only a small part of a larger manipulation. These people see us as expendable. They view empathy, frankly, as weakness, even though it is our strength, our very humanity. I don't know if you've noticed, but somehow everything has been turned upside down while we haven't been paying attention. Corporate America is psychopathic, and it trains and rewards other psychopaths in a cold, clinical, inhumane, unemotional environment. Schools disinform and program kids rather than educate them. Song lyrics have spiraled into inane, danceable nonsense. Creative right-brain classes have been all but banned from our culture. It is just concrete, glass, and this control system. They're putting cell phone towers on the roofs of schools with full knowledge of the cancer risk involved. These are weapons being used against innocent kids, our kids, and that's what prompted me to make this video. So, how do we make orgonite to protect ourselves? Step 1. Acquire materials. You will need a resin of some kind. I suggest the brand EasyCast in the 32-ounce bottles because that's what I found was the easiest to use and created the most effective results. You will also need crystals. I have seen great results with quartz of all colors, calcite, amethyst, fluorite, and obsidian. So just experiment and see what works for you. You will also need a Tesla coil, which is essentially just copper wiring that you bend into a coil, wrapping it around a broomstick or even a pencil for smaller pieces. You can find this kind of copper wiring easily at a Home Depot store close to you. I recommend the smallest gauge because it's the most malleable and easy to shape into a coil. You will also need fine metal shavings. Some people use thick pieces of metal, but I find that the smaller, finer shavings work best sprinkled throughout the layers of the piece. Electrical engineer and Orgon expert Ken Rolla recommends this highly, calling it a crucial factor for the correct functionality of Orgonite. I went down to a locksmith and got a whole bag full of brass shavings for free, so that was really nice. I also went to a metal shop and got some fine pieces of ground iron. You can use copper, gold, silver, brass, iron, aluminum, and lots of other metals will work. But I found that brass was perfect for me. It has a golden shimmer to it, which complements the amber color of the resin, and it has copper and alloy, so it was very functional and worked well. And did I mention it was free? Because that was a nice piece also. You will also need some plastic measuring cups and stirring sticks. It's crucial that you measure out the proportion. It's a 1-to-1 system, so it's equal, but you need to measure it out very, very accurately. So the amount of resin and the amount of hardener has to be pretty much exactly the same, otherwise it won't work. You also have to stir and mix the two together very thoroughly before you pour it into your mold. However, if you stir too long, it'll start smoking and getting hot and chemically bonding, and then harden right there in the cup. So you have to shoot the gap and find the happy medium. Easy Cast is low on fumes, but I still recommend using a mask while you're working with the chemicals. And of course, use gloves as well, so that it doesn't absorb into your skin. And you will need a mold. I recommend using silicone molds over any other kind because they're flexible and you can just pop them right out. And it works without any kind of releasing agent or spray. If you, however, use a different kind of mold like a plastic mold, then be sure to get a releasing agent and spray it on the inside thoroughly before you pour the resin into your mold so that you can get it out when it's done. I had a lot of problem getting things out, especially when I poured it into glass. It was just fused there forever. In fact, I left it in the glass and it turned out kind of cool. I call it a cosmic martini, but I digress. One other really important tip that will save you some money and some frustration: leave the Orgonite to dry for at least 24 hours before trying to get it out of the mold. Also, make sure it's above 60 degrees. If you're creating a bigger piece, like a 5-inch by 5-inch pyramid, you probably want to do it in stages, maybe 8-ounce layers. So you'll pour some resin in, along with some metal and crystals, and then you'll let it dry. I would suggest for an hour or so. And then pour in a new layer, 8 ounces, do the same thing, and repeat the process until you're done. This way you have layers that are aesthetically pleasing, but also functional as well. Then you'll let it set for 24 hours and take it out of the mold, and you'll have a beautiful, artistic, found object piece of art, as well as a powerful technology that will protect you from chemtrails as well as harmful EMF or electromagnetic frequencies. You can make Orgonite into necklaces or rings or statues and molds. Be creative and do what you will. You can give these to friends and even family members who will never believe that this works, but regardless, you're protecting them without even their knowledge of this protection. And just knowing they're safe is an intrinsic reward in and of itself. Here are a few pieces that I created, and if you do not want to work with plastic, which I understand, and if you don't want to go through the process of building it yourself, that's fine. I have pieces for sale on my website, radiomysterium.com, so you can purchase them anytime you want. Oh, and by the way, do some research on Professor Emoto. He has studied water all his life and found that water has intelligence. It has memory. So if you write or say certain words as the water is forming into crystals, it will form beautiful symmetrical shapes. If you say hateful or evil things, it will have a distorted, totally different shape. So think of the implications of that, considering that we are over 70% water ourselves. So when I was constructing this orgonite, I decided to write signs that said peace and love and let the orgonite dry next to those signs. That way they resonate with the vibrational frequency of those words. It's all about frequency and intention. This is Jeff Bird. If you visualize it, you can realize it. You've been listening to Radio Mysterium.